Hey, popping in with another video, and then I wanna send a shout out to someone who appeared in the comment to another video, and he said this is tough. Keep up the work. Keep this up. And I like how he said tough like that because there's like different words that like come in and out of, like, I think they call it vogue is like what's popular. So like when I was growing up in the Southwest, like beautiful women and girls were called chicks. And then when I got to the North, my friend was like, you need to stop with this stuff about chicks, man. We call it's honeys up here. We say honeys up here. And then in the Southwest, they used to say tight. Like if something was really cool, like in the Southwest, they'd be like, that's tight. Or I think like where my dad comes from, they would say like a cool drink instead of soda. Like in the North where I'm at, they say soda. In the Southwest, they say Coke. All things are a Coke. Even a Sprite is a Coke. And then like where my dad's from, they call it cool drink, and they might call it different stuff. But then so some of these words like they come in and out. But sometimes you forget how cool like words actually sound. So like even the word tough, like a lot of people would say like, oh, so you think you're a tough guy, or they think they're tough, or but so that sound, sometimes we forget the way that the word actually sounded. So I think the word cool, if you actually met someone who was really cool, like from back in the day or even now, and they just say cool, it sounds different when someone says it, how it can really sound. So like this person said tough in the comments, and I think tough is actually a dope word. Like if you use it right, like I was in it when I replied, I was like, I rocks roughs and stuffs with my Afro puffs. Hey, but but actually just words that like there's actually a thing in writing where they say sometimes they call it like trite or cliche, but the word is trite. Like some things that are commonly used are like you would think that that's not part of good writing, but sometimes it's actually part of great writing. I remember I was in a car with the same friend that I referenced, who me and him once threw back a couple when we were grown in a car that didn't work while it was like a downed car we were in. And another time I was always like collaborating my friend groups, and they were always like conspiring and getting over on me. Like they become better friends once I introduce them and they don't need me anymore. But I had a friend from elementary, and he actually became like a real fitness head when we became grown, and he was like formidable. Like people talk about muscles, this and that, but you look at the man's forearm, and that was the forearm of a grown man. We were like barely adults then, and even like right now, my arm just looks like an arm, but his that looked like a man, his forearm. And he was like a no kidding like fitness person. And like one time I didn't actually go to camp to school with the rest of my class like at that time, but we were like taking a trip like across. Well, one day we worked out. He's like, no, we're running up there. And we're like, we had to go a couple miles to the gym to run there to work out. And then another time we were going to do the same thing on the campus, and I was somehow on a bike, and he was running next to me on the bike, sprinting, having 3 and 4 and 5 wins, and then going up to do some bad stuff at the gym. But he was a real tough guy, and he still is like that. I bumped into him, and he's still like that. But it's just who he is. But then one time we were in a car, and like my friend's also from Africa like I am, but he actually grew up there a lot more than I did. So he had kind of an African accent, but he was still learning English as a second language. But he had known it in Africa, and he was learning in America, and he's still when you're still a child, even a teenager, you pick up languages differently. But he had an accent, but he could rap in English. And my fitness friend was like, so what's on that CD? What's on that mix? What you got on there? Like kind of like pressing him almost like a detective. He's like, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But that's actually a cliche, but he said it really cold like that, like a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And it was really dope how he said that. So sometimes you can say something that's common, but you can say it in a cool way, the way it might have sounded before. And that's that word tough like that. But I wanted to rock with that comment and actually be tough by making like original, like by offering original statements, and also attempting things that might be like a little bit bold. One is a deeper thing I wanted, is a little bit actually part of that video that comment appeared on, is that I was talking about like different ways of becoming aware of of actually training our own awareness. Because if you affect your awareness, you actually affect your destiny, the experience of your destiny. Maybe as simple as that would sound, because like if you actually appreciate the presence of our moment that we're existing as, um, you can appreciate how changing one or two small things can amount to an entirely different outcome. Like if I look over there and I start wondering about what's going on over there, and then I pick that up, this and that up over there, that's completely different than if I would have took my attention over there and did something over there. That can influence, that can, as a cause, the effect of that cause can be a different experience of that moment, that day, that week, that month, that year, that life, that simple like that. So by taking a different approach to our awareness, we're actually changing our experience on a profound level. But also, it's just appreciated that you're more effective and also harder to anticipate if you can be more dynamic in what you pay attention to. So that's where that was coming from with that video, is that we can actually get subtly get off of our normal habits of things. So if someone were to say, I once was being trained by someone that said that being aware of detail, it may be the difference between winning and losing something. And I think that if you just simply try to be aware of things for the sake of being aware, you can get lost. You can start to like go on a tangent, or you can daydream, or you can have habits about a certain way of thinking. But somehow, I was thinking that if you were to appreciate colors, the color of anything as having like in considering the reason for something, maybe more profound than colors is the reason for something, and then you don't stop and linger as long on one thing, but yet you take that in and you have a deeper appreciation of that, having rationed the reason in that moment, or maybe in other moments you start to develop reasoning as to how something appears as it does. But then, and so you can survey something quicker, almost like a machine would survey something quicker without lingering or going on a tangent or having habits about a specific thing. You look for the reason of something, and the placement of something is being effective with our attention. And then I'd also said imagining that there had been like movie theater glasses that were somewhat limiting our experience of what's in front of our face as clear as it would seem, and that can actually help us appreciate that there are blind spots within our awareness, or there are things that we're aware of but we don't completely appreciate, such as when you're looking at a building and then a bird takes off from the top of the building and you didn't know that a bird had been perched there looking directly at you. It's just an example of how there can be things in front of our face that we're not aware of, such as a blind spot. But then I want to say what might be deeper than that. What I was thinking today is to take the reverse of that and say that maybe in appreciating seeing more of what you have saw than you may be appreciated as, or that you have appreciated yourself as. Because sometimes, and I also wanted to do a little bit of a brief discussion about growing up with a dual heritage. But sometimes, like, I have different challenges in my family, and I know what I've experienced, that how I would weigh in on something. And sometimes I feel like when I communicate my experience, I feel like I have graces doing that, just because I practice like enunciating like on videos like this, and then I look into different topics like for learning, and then I more so have I make conscious efforts to have like decency with dealing with other people, and also tact around what I say with other people, so that in a conversation I can communicate even like nuanced or heartfelt ideas without being argumentative or combative, but I can express myself, and also have to enunciate with feeling without being without indulging in feeling, or like the real, just conveying my real experience. And but sometimes you appreciate when you talk to people that as much as they're convinced, it means nothing and it goes nowhere. Like it's actually kind of very profound when you see like the level. I think we all have different dissonance, and so you can say something very eloquent and profound, and it almost means nothing. I really appreciate some of the past of like what people have done as far as like civil rights, and like communicating like where we're coming from and what our experience is, and meaning well with that. And then maybe not only civil rights, but like other indigenous people in different areas who had different things and experiences that they wanted to share in good faith, and they wanted a real outcome, but it just goes in one ear and out the other. That's really quite startling when you see that. But I want to say a deeper thing and say that, but did you hear what you said? So you said your experience and how you feel about something, but did you hear what you said? And do you remember what you saw and what you felt as you're saying that, and as you're reflecting on what you said and how you said it? That might be the real one you're winning over in these different conversations. Yes, we have different things to say, but are we hearing what we say? And that might be when the change happens. because you wonder when is change happening when you hear what you said and you see what you saw.